Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Now I'm back again with another Tower of God video, and we catch up to the last part of the advancement test on the second floor. Now this is the final test. This test gives them the permission to move up to the third floor. And the test that they are doing is an irregulars test. The irregulars test conditions were determined between Baum and the administrator. We don't know all of the conditions. We only know that he agreed that he'd make a test which he could take so that he can carry Rachel up the tower. And remember, Rachel is unworthy of going up the tower. And she's been given a heavy task of killing Baum so that she can advance up the tower. But this year might supersede it if Baum succeeds. But Rachel's been granted a gift from Hedon in the form of Ghost. Now, when it comes to those who are watching the anime, this is where things shift for you to those who are watching it who are reading it through the webtoon. So in the webtoon, we know that Ghost is still around, and we also know that um, this test has more elements to it than what we're about to discuss. So the main players in this particular part of the exam are Kun, Rak, Bam, and Rossi Anak. They are the main players. And to add a little bit of flair to it, the big trump card to all of this, the real crazy element is Yuri Jahad. Now, her element will come up as soon as I get to her part of the story. So let's dive into it right away. So, starting with the test for BAM, it is called the Submerged Fish Hunt. Now, on the second floor, they have a vast ecosystem of a special place called a wine glass. Now, in the wine glass lives a creature called the Gobby Dolphin Queen, and she's basically like a hive mind queen who controls these sea fish that are her drones. And her drones are called Gobby Dolphins, and she can create them daily, and they have the natural predators in the wild called earth pigs. Now, the earth pigs will tunnel through the ground and they will eat the Gobby Dolphins, but the queen will replace them every day so she can get her food. hmm Okay. It's a bit complicated to explain, so I'm trying my best to keep it simple. Now, besides the Gobi dolphins and the earth pigs, is a second bunch of problems in the form of a symbiotic relationship between a creature called a flatworm, basically, and a creature called the barnacle goblin. So the barnacle goblins use the flatworms to steal the food of the Gobi dolphin queen, and they reduce the chances of things reaching the Gobi dolphin. But they aren't such a big problem to this entire environment. Them stealing doesn't stop the queen from eating. She still gets her full of food. And the earth pigs don't stop the hunt every day because even when they get eaten, the net gets smaller and smaller and they can eventually succeed. And the Gobi dolphins are replaced by the queen immediately when they are lost. So, all of that said, there's no problem with the balance of that ecosystem. But balm, as part of this test, is a piece of food for the queen. So, he cannot be eaten by the barnacle goblins. He cannot be eaten by the flatworm. And this is where things get really complicated. Now, in order to make sure that Balm passes, he has to be eaten by the Gobi dolphin queen and excreted out. And that is the way for him to pass. Him and Rachel have to do this here through a special Shinsu bubble that will carry them through this wine glass. And on the other side, there's one other unknown factor, a creature which is not meant for this floor called the bull. So it forms as a imbalance to the system. It eats everything. It can eat any creature in the entire ecosystem. So it's an apex predator. It seems to possess some sort of intelligence and it makes itself really dangerous for them to approach it. Now, they warn that regulars have been slaughtered by it all the time. In the anime, they say that it has killed rankers. Now, in the webtoon, it says it has eaten an entire team of regulars. They don't say anything about rankers. That's just an exaggeration on the part of the story. Whew, okay, so here we go into the next part where things get unbelievably crazy. I'm going to try and phrase all of this as fast as possible. So they so Kun devises a plan for them to do everything, and his plan works as follows. He intends to herd the Earth Pigs towards the Barnacle Goblins because the Earth Pigs and the Barnacle Goblins fight each other. The Earth Pigs fight the Barnacle Goblins because they interfere with their ability to eat dolphins, and that is why they fight each other. And he decides that he's going to herd them towards each other so that his fight for keeping Balm alive is a lot easier. You just unbalance the ecosystem a little bit. It's not a permanent damage, but it will change the flow for the day. If the Earth Pigs get to the Barnacle Goblins early, it means they can stop the worms from getting into the wine glass and pulling out food. And they devised that the spear bearers will take on the worms, the earth pigs will take on the barnacle goblins, and they together as a group will fight the rest of the goblins. Now, on the other side, they've devised a two-part plan with the princesses of Jahar to take out the bull because they are significantly powerful compared to any regular, and they figured that the two of them would be able to fight the bull at least on par. Now, this is where things start to spread up and things start moving more or less along plan for the earth pigs herding and the way they intend to interfere with that part. However, the bull side things go totally crazy. Shibusu, one of their scouts, runs into the bull first, and he decides to distract it and hold it back from the start of the exam. And at this point, they call in the princesses of Jihad. Now, Enderossi and Anak, being who they are, while Shibusu is fighting for his life, they end up having their own little squabble, and they're basically the wild cards of the team. They have immense power; they can change the entire balance of it, but only if they actually perform. Now, whew, at this point, we end up with the next set of complications. Anak and Rossi decide to take on a challenge. They'll give each other 5-minute turns to fight the bull, and there's two prizes in it for them. If Anak wins, she gets Enderossi as her slave. If Enderossi wins, she gets the Black March, which she won off Balm. Now, in this time before this year, Ender Rossi and Balm have been training together. There's a whole lot of things that happen in the period before this. So Balm, Rak, and Kun went around trying to form a team to go up with Rachel. And then all of that went through to the announcement where Balm said he's an irregular and he spoke directly to the administrator of the floor, the guardian, and that's how he ended up getting his test. Now, the regulars had a choice. They could take the regular test, which was already set from the supervisor, or they could take the guardian's test with Balm, because that's the way that their options are weighing at the moment. And Kun played a little deceit with the help of Rak to say that he didn't want to pair with him for a certain reason, and this pushed most of the regulars to team up with Balm because they didn't want to be so despicable for someone who's just holding a rank for his name. But he wasn't really doing it. He didn't care about it. He just wanted to go with Balm. And eventually, everybody sides with Balm who passed the test. So they're all going to take the test with Balm in Balm's simulation. Now, moving on to the next part of this, Enderossi fights the bull and she basically almost kills it, as far as they're concerned, from what they can see. And just as she's about to kill it, Anak cheats and she interferes in the fight. She attacks Enderossi so that she falls down. And this causes Enderossi to fight with Anak, and the bull escapes in this time. This forces both Anak and Enderossi to start chasing the bull, and they start chasing it into the dark where they need a light. They need to observe what's going on. At this point, Enderossi figures out that something is really dangerous here. If she keeps this up, she's going to be in big trouble if it ambushes her. And it ambushes her at this point, drowns her in the water, and then we are taken over to Anak. Anak is hunting for the bull and she ends up running into Lopo Biaren. Now, as I said, he is there for two reasons. He is there to recover the 13-month weapons, the Green April and the Black March, and he is there to kill Anak. Now, when he shows up over here, he starts taunting Anak, and he eventually shows her something from her past, a gem that she gave to her mother. And when she sees this here, her rage is triggered. And as we know, she doesn't use her brain much when it comes to her methods. And she starts attacking the ranker. Now, because she attacked the ranker, she is no longer subject to the regular rules of the exam. The exam rules are now out the window. At this point, things start going absolutely haywire. He starts attacking her and everything. And he decides he might as well make it a little bit more interesting because he's been controlling the bull this whole time. He drops Enderossi down on the floor, hands her the green April, and tells her to kill Anak to prove that she's not a traitor princess. Now, at this point, Enderossi goes to help her, and this here really triggers exactly what he wanted. If he knocks out another princess, because princesses are limited, I think there's less than 50 of them in the entire tower. And if he knocks out this princess, there's less competition for his family princesses, because he's from one of the 10 great families. And if there's less competition for them, they have a stronger chance of getting one of the 13-month weapons which are left to be inherited. And things just go totally whack crazy at this point. So at this point, the fight becomes absolutely a one-sided slaughter as Ren decides he's going to kill them both. And we then get to jump back to our favorite character, Yuri Jahad. Now, Yuri has been chasing after Baum since she met him on the first floor. And in order to get into the second floor, she had to take a secret path because the ruler of the second floor is called Evankel. Evancal is one of the top 100 strongest people in the tower, and she's amongst the top 500 strongest within the tower. Now, the thing about Evancal is known for being extremely brutal. She can kill an entire army. She's that dangerous and that unpredictable. So they really don't want to run into her because it would be that dangerous if they get caught. So they take a very long secret path into the second floor. And as they're going through, Yuri called for her team, basically the people who she works with, from another group in the tower called Walhai Yuksong. Now, Walhai Yuksong is a group associated with an irregular called Yurik Mazzino. Now, there are only three known irregulars outside of the first 13 who climbed the tower. That's Jad and the 10 great families, and the two who are erased from history. Now, Yurik is one of those is an irregular who came in after this year. He is the third to enter the tower. Before him came an irregular called Enryu. Enryu was an irregular who committed a sin in the tower as far as they're concerned that nobody was capable to comprehend. He killed a guardian. Guardians are considered to be immortal creatures within this universe and one of the most powerful beings of the tower. The fact that he did that is something which scared everybody in the tower and instantly got him number one in the tower. Following him came the irregular Phantaminum. Phantaminum is an excess user, and he climbed the tower remarkably quickly, and he slaughtered all of Jahad's rankers in his castle and approached the king. Now, as far as we know, he is the only person to ever do that to Jahad, but he somehow stopped, and he spared the ranker princess Yuri Jahad at the time because she was in the castle. Now, that's all that we know about the entire story, and that's all we know about Phantaminum. So now we have a brief understanding of what irregulars are in terms of their capability, why these things are playing such a big role in everything being said. They're unique, they're powerful, and they can break the rules of the tower. Now, that's how come Balm is so special. That's how come he is so powerful and so irregular. Now, at this point, things are looking a bit grim, and these 8 are trying to get into the floor secretly. The team is consisting of several members. Kuradan, who is a wave controller. Then there's Evan, who is Yuri's guide. Then there's Yuri, who is the fisherman. Then there's their light bearer, Hatsling Kun, who goes by the nickname Blueberry. Then there's 2 others who I don't know the names of. One is a pink-haired individual, and the other is like a crab-faced individual. They're also from Wei Yuk Sang, and I believe they are scouts. And they scout the path to see which way they can go. And they find that most of the routes are blocked off by white steel eels in their nesting period, which makes it kind of crazy because you already heard from me that they are really dangerous 20th floor level creatures. But the concentrations they mate in are so dangerous that it would slow down even the progress for these rankers. So that tells you just how dangerous it is. And with all of this being said, they taking the safest path they possibly can through to the floor of test. And finally, they have arrived. When they arrive, the first person Yuri runs into is Shibisu. The rest of the team jumps into the area and they end up in different areas of the test area on the second floor. They're not all in one place, they don't arrive as a single group. So Hatzling ends up interfering in the test by taking over Kun's lighthouse, and he looks at what's going on in the area to try and establish contact with his peers. Yuri follows Shibisu till she finds Ender Rossi and Anak on the floor, about to be killed by Ren, and she gets involved, telling Ren to leave right now. She will take care of them and retrieve the weapons. And at this point, Ren threatens her, and he says, "Are you and she says, "Are you threatening me?" And he attacks her prematurely, and then we find out just how dangerous Princess Yuri is versus the red unit number 63, Lopobia Ren. The level of strength is unbelievably different between the two of them, and they end up having a little bit of a fight. Yuri is basically defending herself, so he says it's self-defense, and she basically just flicks her finger a little bit at him, and the amount of damage that it causes is like unbelievable. And at the same time, Evan is with Kuradan, and they end up going to Hansang Yu, and they say that they're intervening in this test because there's a member of Red involved. And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine, it's no problem. We already knew you were coming. This is the Guardian's test, so you're already considered as part of it." He conveys the message to the team. They can interfere with this member of Red, and that's all that they're allowed to do. Then they are to leave the test. That's all they're allowed to do in total. So Ren ends up fighting for a little bit with Yuri, and eventually Yuri says, "Fine, she'll leave him to do what he wants." She takes the Black March and the Green April with her, and at this point, because it looks like she's just leaving Ren alone, Ren is like extra happy. He gets to kill the traitors. And at this point, she allows Kuradan to jump in with his wave control skill called the Cutter and instantly smash Ren dead. So that's what happens. And that is the end of Ren, basically. But as he is dying in his fake body, because Ren is a Lopobia member, he's transferring himself to another one of his bodies, which he calls skins. And he says, "Thanks to the way you intervened, I can't even report this to the higher ups because he is illegally here." And with all of this, basically she's going to get away with everything she did. And it goes even further, and he says, "I've actually already sent the bull elsewhere. The bull is going to kill that irregular boy. We can't allow him to survive. He might one day become a threat to the king of the tower." And at this point, Yuri freaks out with her natural behavior, and she's about to destroy the entire stage when Evan tells her she has to stop. This was all planned for, it's allowed by the administrator, but since he is dead, their involvement is over. They can't do anything more, otherwise, Balm fails the test. So she backs off and she asks Ender Rossi if she thinks Balm can pass. And Ender Rossi says, "Yes, he definitely can pass because I've promised to go on a date with him if he comes back from this exam." And it's just a little bit of a joke for Yuri's part. She's like, is she really that conceited? She thinks she's that beautiful. But nonetheless, there's a lot to do with this whole section. Balm's influence when Ender Rossi was training with him is a big part of it. And at the end of this, I'm actually going to end this episode at this point where Balm fights the bull. So Balm fights the bull in the last scene of this episode, and he can stop the bull, but he can't attack it. So eventually, he focuses all his power into an attack, and he attacks directly down the mouth of the bull, and that ends up defeating the bull for him. He ends up pretty badly injured, and he's checking on whether Rachel is okay or not. And at this point, Rachel is considered to be crippled. She can't walk. That's why they had to do all of this to get her to climb up the tower. She steps up all of a sudden out of nowhere and pushes Balm into the wine glass, causing him to fall through all the Shinsu, and is already pretty exhausted from fighting the bull and killing it. And he's falling into this abyss of Shinsu, getting pulled down by the current of the wine glass. So that's how she decided to kill Balm. And this is where the story basically ends, and we get to know everything that she's done. Now, I've already discussed that she's been involved in all of this here. She's been working with Han Sang Yu. She was part of that plot to get Balm to stop climbing. And she eventually goes up with Kun and the rest of the team, and they all basically vow that because Balm sacrificed himself for the team, they will keep fulfilling his wish of getting her to the top of the tower. And that is where that part of the story ends, but there is a ton more to discuss. Now, I will be getting back with the finishes of the second floor. This year will relate into the start of the second season, and I hope that you all do enjoy, because this is going to be the fun part.